Is it a quarry or not? I
Well, it could
mean,
be a sacred site too, because I've seen a fair bit of just research and watching videos and people doing research and reading their papers and watching their findings, just like yours. Around the world, there are areas like this where the rock has been cut away from a formation, and internally, that's where supposedly the sacred sites are. Now, what kind of energy resonance is coming out of there?
well, that's the thing. I believe that this
And
whole
what types
place.
of harmonic frequencies would you put in there to get something to activate? Good afternoon, everyone. I know you're always looking for new, exciting information about prehistory because a lot of this is cycles. A lot of things we're seeing in our world today seem to be revolving around cycles. You see there's a change that's occurring at the moment. So ask yourself, why are all the changes happening right this second? Well, if we're entering into another cycle, something heavier, more powerful that will shift society, well, perhaps we are going to, look to the past, the ancient past, to see what is happening and how this could explain some of the changes we're seeing in our modern world today. So I have with me David Stig Hansen. Now, what's so interesting is he went out to Mauritania and hired guides and found his way out to the Richat Structure. Now, that's exciting itself, and that's a full program in its own, but we want to step beyond that to some new discoveries.
This is when we're driving up. Let me pull up a new one. Here we are coming down from the shot. This is like what I call the Attar Plateau. So you've got the Nouakchott to Attar. The Attar is the first plateau. That's a bar of soap. Well, I don't know what's going on there. But anyways, yeah, I'm getting the shot. Let me show you on the map where that is.
Yeah,
I
those
got
roads
some.
look like they get quite a bit rougher up there as you're going along. Hey,
Yeah, let me show you where that
or
is.
not so paved, I should say. Maybe not so rough. It looks pretty flat, like there aren't that many potholes. But
Let me get rid of this, and I'll show you in the map where we were. So
yeah, because
that
you
right
said you went
there is
over
a
that
big
plateau
one.
after the mining area, and you crossed over the plateau there. Yeah, that area right there, from Attar down over the
Right.
plateau, heading east
We're
or kind
taking
of
the
southeast.
N1 is National Highway number one, I guess. It goes to Attar. And then once you get into Attar, I don't know why it's two directions. Is this N1 also? I don't think this is the N1 anymore, but it's showing N1 right there. Okay, so this is where you go to Attar. There's a last police roadblock here. You got to stop at every one of those police roadblocks. I got a
And
video
what
of
do they
the
ask you? What are you
sign.
doing out here?
You
What's
know
your
what?
name? Let me
Here's
see your
the
passport.
advice. You got to get yourself. Here's one of the signs for that. So that's the police roadblock sign right there. Whenever you see that, the first
Gendarmerie
I think
Nationale.
that means Gendarmerie Nationale. Huh. Oh, you have to
Halt.
have, yes, we know what that means. You have to have copies of your passports so you don't get caught up at these places. And the first time I went, I had to pull out my passport, and they wrote down all the information on the passport on a piece of paper and put it in their pocket. So what I learned was is to get through these very quickly, and there's about 10 of them, and each way. So when you're going and coming back, you have to stop, give them your passport, and if you have a copy of your passport, and there might be one more piece of information, like the phone number in the country, how they can get a hold of you, get that written on there, and you're gonna just go fly right through. Sometimes we got stopped a little bit, and I stayed out here at Bob Sahara. He's pretty good. He's I think it's not as cheap as I was hoping. So you could probably find cheaper, but he speaks English. He knows guides. If you go there, he's going to hook you up. And I would say go there. I'll go there again. One of the things is the mosquitoes out there were pretty big. That was kind of a shocker. I luckily had brought some mosquito repellent or whatever. I would definitely like invest in one of those anti-mosquito things. Going back to the video that I showed you, this is the climb that I just showed you. Going up here through these plateaus, it's amazing. Coming
Yeah, it
through
looks like
here,
there's a lot of mineral deposits all up in there. BlackRock warns, prepare for a recession unlike any other. History has proven the only way the Fed can fight inflation is with a recession. 80% of the retirees are concerned about inflation and very concerned about the stock market. In 2008, the stock market and housing markets crashed. Meanwhile, gold went from $800 an ounce up to $1,600 in 2.5 years. Patriot Gold Group is introducing the 2023 Recession Protection No Fee for Life IRA. Patriot Gold Group has a no fee for life IRA where your 401k or IRA can be in physical gold or silver on qualifying rollovers. 888-546-7020 to get your free investor guide today. And now on with the video.
Yeah, and that's why
Iron, manganese, nickel, each one of those is a different color.
And out here where it becomes like pure sand dunes, I have this thing I call the little fish. Okay, so you've got the big fish, and inside the fin of the big fish is the little fish. And down here below that, you've got these, you're finding all sorts of ancient walls and roads underneath 1,000-foot tall sand dune. Look at it. Here's one right there. And you know where
that's not, no, okay. So I'll say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say what you just showed me there, not the sand dune, but what's covering that, that's straight up straight wall. That is definitely not natural.
That?
Yeah, right there. Those kind of straight lines in nature are very, 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 very unusual to have straight lines.
Well, they have a lot more.
What's the distance on that wall then, or whatever that structure is? And you can see it kind of pops out of the dune, and then it's covered by the dune, it pops out of the dune, and then it's back under the dune again. And if you're going to look at that, if that's a wall, okay, let's say it's a wall, but then how long is that? Let's say it's a building, a canal, something like this. I mean, that's still some length of, it took a fair bit of human ingenuity and manpower to put something like that together.
I traced them out in a project one day. I'd have to share.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah. So here's what I see, and what I can show you some more that are just, you don't have regular intersections in this ancient life. You've got this curve, and then you've got, okay, we're moving away from the shot. Are we moving away yet? Because honestly, I there's even more around Tondeni prison down there and over here, but I just did a little taste of it. And what I want to show you is right here. This is just nuts and crazy. And I'm not sure if we're done with the shot yet.
We're just going to go with the flow.
Let's go with the flow.
Go with the shifting Saharan sands, my friend.
Okay, let me tell you what we're skipping over is right there where I got on that plateau near Atar. There's two canals that are about 18 kilometers each that are parallel. And there's ancient mining right there that I'm going to show you later. Also, after all this ancient mining and the fact that Randall Carlson said that we have evidence of, he said it right here. I'm going to show you the proof because I want everybody to see it right there. Hold on, here it comes. Here he is saying it in his video about 4 years ago that the outcrops in the structure were being quarried by somebody hundreds and thousands of years ago. Now, I don't know where he got that from because the paper he was referring to that I looked up didn't seem to say that, but he didn't even show us on the map where it was, but it's right. Oh, is it out here? I think it's right there. I have to kind of double check. No, it's right out here. And he doesn't even point at it. So it took me a couple of years later before I realized what he was talking about. And then I started finding it everywhere. This is
can you zoom in a little bit? Because it looks like some electric geology is going on there as well.
Yeah, this is all right here. These are all.
No, stop right there. Can you zoom it back out just a little bit, and then
let's what he was talking about.
There. Yeah, okay, go ahead. I'll get the map on later.
See your what looks like. What do you call those patterns?
Okay, stop there. Yeah, okay. So if you're looking at Billy Everton did an enormous amount of substrate with high voltage current through it. And what they would find is it would strike onto a main point, and then there would be periphery strikes. Those round circles there are exactly 1,000%. And then look at the dendritic ridges. You pass some of those, but then look at the strike pattern going off of there too. But the main strike looked like it, if it was, I'm just saying if there was something on a planetary scale that came ripping down and struck the planet's surface, you would have those extra bolts going off and electrifying and making what we've seen across Mars as well. That same thing. It says what the main trunk strike, and then there's periphery tendrils going off that leave those round marks to the Richat. But I just saw some electric geology formations, and Billy Everton did a huge amount of research. Like I said, if you want to check out, he's got hundreds of experiments in his laboratory where he's a blasting substrate with different voltages, but it's all high voltage current going through there. I mean, incredible. Yeah, right there you go.
Well, I was going to pull that up too. I mean, I don't want to go all the way back, but that is a lightning strike on a car, and that is the Richat structure. And you can see the embedded uh, pattern there that's kind of similar to the frequency of that lightning strike. I'm not saying it's exactly the same. And also, I should also point out, I can give you two new Richats.
Oh yeah,
We've got
Lichtenberg.
Lynch-
Yeah, look at those filamentary patterns there. That exactly is that matches pretty well.
I don't know if you've seen those pictures
Yeah, the
before.
Chaos Serpent Dragon. Yeah, I've seen all the black. Yeah, because those are off the Thunderbolts project.
The big question is possible that the creation of the Richat structure itself was possibly some type of a planetary plasma discharge. I'm not really into. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I went to the Sedona show. I'm going to pull this off, but I'm not going to close it.
Now, wait, before you go there, come back with me for a second. Did you see any petroglyphs out there when you were running around? Because you got pretty remote out there. Did you see petroglyphs at all?
There's petroglyphs out here. I didn't get out there. They're out here.
Way out to the place they wouldn't want to take you. They didn't want to take you out.
Yeah, and I'm so surprised. The old man that had been there, he just wasn't up for it. And you know what the sad part is about that is we were on the road and they kept calling him old man, and I started calling him old man. Turned out he was my age. I'm 55. So I mean, he wasn't. I'm as old as he is. It's sad. It's
equal
sad that,
equal man, dude.
Equal man. I prejudged him. But the thing was, is this guy, he looked like he was 65, 70, easy, skinny, not healthy. He hadn't eaten right, missing teeth. So you got a big difference here. There's one more image I wanted to show you that I thought was relevant, but we can keep that. Where was that?
Sorry, yeah, some of the canals too, because you found a few features out there, and I'm interested in seeing your prospect of it could have been mining as well. Some of those higher ridges.
What I should do is I should grab it directly from my. I'm sorry, I'm looking for this one picture that I just that I just discovered.
Can you zoom down on the black edge down there? You see where the looked like the mineral deposit right there, or whatever that was, or rock.
What this is, and I'm going to show you right after I showed you this. This is it right here. Cymatics. These frequencies showing different things. I'm looking for the one that looks the most like the Richat structure and trying to find out if we match it up. That's what I would like to ask your viewers. Is there any viewers out there that know these frequencies real well? And they do the same thing with sand and sound. And that's the piano notes. These are piano notes. So, I mean, the Richat structure looks like D, number 2. And a couple of the others. And I can show you a couple of other Richat structures. There's just so much to talk about. Okay, let me back out here and show you. There's a canal.
What's that look like? Buildings and sort of thing right on the black that you zoomed into. What's on top of that black stone that you were zooming in? Where
the white
to the left. What is that? That looks like another town out there.
Those are dry playa lakes on the top of the plateau. And when you go to a tar, you can go along the north end without having to deal with going up and over this plateau. You can see here getting up the plateau, that area. I was showing you that video, which it's disappeared now, right into the mist. But you can go up that.
It looks canyon-ish. It looks very much like the Grand Canyon. Again, the stories of the Grand Canyon being sculpted by an electrical discharge and the Adriatic Sea, all 3 of these sites have the same exact stories in common. Sculpted by planetary lightning strike, plasma strikes. But look at the similarity in the canyon building of that. Now, again, some of that could have been the bottom of a mega lake. Over,
I just did a video. This is a big, huge empty lake. That's a lake. That's an ocean right there. This is it. This is the shoreline on the north side of the Richat. Better be careful. The Richat structure usually refers to the circles. This is the Adrar Plateau. But when you're going along this north thing, you can clearly see this was an ancient body of water here. And that's a shoreline
all the way into there, right?
All the way in. Look, this is dried. This is evaporated water. This is a playa lake now.
It's salt,
and that's all salt. And you can see somebody did a damming project there, and that dam, I don't know how old that is. I mean, I don't know if there's any modern day. I wanted to go through and come up and come out here, right there, and I wanted to visit this library that's there.
Oh, now you're to the north. Yeah, see that structure right there that you're zooming in on?
This is on the north side. Yeah.
That looks pretty interesting.
Oh, well, if you want to get crazy, take a look at it this way. This is just nuts right here. Let me show you something here. We're talking about ancient mining going on. Look at these lines.
I see how
Look at
part of
that.
it's really clear and then obfuscates some of the other bits there.
This is ancient quarrying.
Yeah,
Okay,
so those lines are way
let's
too
talk
straight
about
to be
this again.
natural.
No, they're too straight. I used to think this was natural because I'm like, I want to follow the razor. What is it?
Occam's
Whose razor?
razor. Simplest
Occam's
explanation
razor.
is always the
Well, simple and not the controversial one, but now I look at this and I
yeah, no, those
because of,
crisscross patterns, you see those around the planet in a few places now.
see that little white mark right there?
Okay.
Right there, there's the most beautiful quarry. It's on the other side of this gully. It's right there. And I'm going to zoom in and let go of the mouse.
Well, I see
I mean,
something right there to the right. Oh, yeah, okay.
we can turn it around a little so the shadow doesn't cause an optical illusion and make it not look what it is. I mean, and you've got other stuff going on over here as well. But this
Yeah,
quarry,
that's
in
kind
my
of
opinion,
interesting. You know, we've seen a fair few ancient sites like this where they're sculpted out of the rock, and that's
is it a quarry or not? I
well, it could
mean,
be a sacred site too, because I've seen a fair bit of just research and watching videos and people doing research and reading their papers and watching their findings, just like yours. Around the world, there are areas like this where the rock has been cut away from a formation, and internally, that's where supposedly the sacred sites are. Now, what kind of energy resonance is coming out of there?
well, that's the thing. I believe that this
And
whole
what types
place,
of harmonic frequencies would you put in there to get something to activate or happen? Because look at the mineral composition of that. That is 100% of one mineral.
this is one rock that turned into
Well, no, where you
slate.
were at with the quarrying thing, which
Oh,
you
yeah,
drew
yeah,
out
yeah.
from, that's 100% of one particular mineral. So,
It's
if you're
right in
in
there.
an
Yes,
iron
I'm listening.
ore area, or if you're in manganese, or there's all these different minerals that are around, really thick layers, especially here. This is the most mind-blowing topography, with the way that you can actually see the mineral deposits layered down. That's why I really think there was a lot of ionic wind here, where the layers
This is
of the minerals themselves bound to a certain frequency and magnetic layering and just deposited. They all came together and then they lumped on top, and then it was the next layer and the next layer and the next layer.
this is a major ley line node. And if you go out here to the Frederick, I say Frederick,
I
it's
don't know what
really
that means, ley
Frederick.
line node.
Ley line node. Well, this is ley line node number 20. I'll show you the
Yeah,
picture.
again, could you zoom in on that? I kind of didn't get a long enough time to
Okay, let me just say
take a
this
deep
is a
dive on that.
this Frederick, that is a major iron ore. This is the longest train in the world. The first time I went there, I didn't even know about it until I got there. You can ride this train for free and go from here to, I guess, the port out here at the edge. This train, every day, it's the longest train in the world. I kind of sometimes I suspect California has some really long ones too, but um, this is an exciting. It's all mining out here. It's all mining. That's iron. Now I can
Yeah,
show it
there
to
you go.
you.
Short canal.
Um,
Yeah, you're right back on
so
top
this
of the.
okay. So this all this stuff, somebody's file they sent me. These are all canals that are connected to the Tamanrasset Paleo River up here. The river was right there, so the canals make sense. And I went through a bunch of those and hundreds of them, and that's just the beginning.
Okay,
So
go
I
back to
use
the
the
little quarry
historical
place you were
imagery.
talking about on the left there to the west.
This is it too, though. There's one, and there's one here.
Oh, those lines are at 90-degree angles. Those are definitely not natural. Look at those 90-degree
Oh,
angles. You're looking at squares everywhere across that
that's
plateau.
quarrying.
Not
Let's
there, but
double
down the
check
south a little bit. But even
here
there,
too. Let's just see. This is the current scan. Terrible. This is the previous one. It's a little better. Let's take a look at the one before that. These are all okay. I like the last one,
they're
2016.
right there. That's the
And
best definition on it when the contrast is turned way down, so you can really see the difference.
yeah, and this is like a little mountain that's lower, that road or maybe river or maybe ancient canal. Because I'm questioning a lot of these straight lines around here, like that line and this line.
Yeah,
You have
and
to
down to
remember,
the west southwest there. Yeah, look at all
if
those
this
straight
were
lines on there.
full,
Those look, what it really reminds me of was the Kalahari canals. Because
right?
if you're telling me that there was a huge water body there, if those were the canals like the Kalahari canals, then they would be bringing water out for irrigation for agricultural purposes. So I'm wondering what the width of those canals is, or the distance between them, or maybe there's raised ridges there. Yeah, look at that, how straight those are. That looks like a canal system to me also. So I'm
This,
wondering
I
if
think it's,
they would be growing in between those lines, or they were growing on the lines.
well, I think that these are too small. I think those are just footpaths. This is what I think is an ancient canal. Now, remember one thing about this part, and I can pull out the topography, but why not just use this picture here because it's ready to go, and it'll
Grow
remind you
it.
of my, yeah, right here, this red part, you can't see the altitudes. That's about 1,800 feet above sea level. The shoreline is about 2,000. Over on the other side, the shoreline is actually a little lower, but this shoreline is about, it's not snow, it's just the highest point. I can open up that topography map if you want, but this whole area would have been above water if that were Plato's concentric circles full of water. But you want to know what made me believe in Team Richat again is the fact that I found the canal that goes from the Atlantic Ocean. See, another problem with Google Pro or Google Earth Pro is that you have to scroll, like you have to sit there and crank it. But what I found, so that's why I'm going to go back to the other map for this, is I found this canal that goes through the Adrar Plateau down here. And I think I showed it to you once, but I'll just go very quickly, starting right about here. And this was like lower, right? So this could have been whatever. This could have been canals, or maybe there was some water from the Atlantic up here somehow. I'm not going to, but you can see this canal go through the mountains. I know that doesn't look great, but you can follow it for 50 miles. I'm going to point that directly north because what do you find at the end? Whoops, there it is right there. Not, I'm sorry, I'm going to point the canal directly upright because as you follow it through this Adrar Plateau, and you can see it all the way, there it is again. Look at that. And you follow it all the way through. Where does it point? It points directly at our beautiful Richat structure. And therefore, I am now Team Richat. Was it Plato's concentric circles as described in Timaeus? I don't know about that. I don't know about the wall of gold or tin or silver or calcium. When
Wait,
I went
how
through
wide is
here,
that canal you just showed me? So you got a ruler
it's
on there.
about.
Are you able to go
Let's go
down to,
back.
say, into the rock density and kind of measure, well, what's the width on that canal down in the rock area where it was pretty easy to define that?
Let's just go in here. So we'll start here. This is a from
Yeah,
cliff to
dive right straight down, straight down. Yeah, yeah, right there. And then measure the width of that thing.
all right. So this one is, I'm just going to get the beige part. We could probably go to the shoreline.
Yeah, you
It
want to go
looks
to the
like there's a
shorelines because
shadow
obviously it'll be full of water if there was something sailing through there.
okay, this is feet.
2/10 of a mile.
100 feet.
Well,
That's
2/10 of a
100 feet.
mile is not 100 feet. 2/10 of a mile would be like,
Well, that was Google Earth just trying to round it up. And I was being, let's go in here. Let's see that
because
part
100
right
foot wide.
there.
How wide is the Panama Canal in comparison?
That's a question we need to ask Google. I can do that. Hold on. How wide is the Panama Canal? It's 500 to 1,000 feet. So this is
Wide.
not, that's what it says. How, yeah. How wide is the Panama Canal? 500 to 1,000 feet, according to Google.
Okay. Because you got to think, if there were vessels coming in and out like they show or talked about during the Atlantean times, I'm willing to go with you on that mind experiment. And that should have been a wide canal enough for, because you can't tell me they were only chugging along with like 20-foot breadth boats there to get up and down in. The vessels would be that tiny because you got to think 83 or even 106, let's say 100, play in the middle there. Still 100 feet wide. There's another 100
again. And by the way, I measured it about 10 miles away, still coming out at about 100 feet wide.
Yeah, because I don't know how much ship traffic a 100-foot wide canal could really carry.
Well, from what Plato wrote, these boats were tiny. A Tyrene, and again, 109 foot.
Yeah, they look pretty uniform at around 100.
You can find another one up here. Look, there it is there.
But you got to think about, okay, so if two vessels approach each other and, it doesn't give very much berth on each side, to kind of squeak through there, 50 foot. And then if there's wind, because the weather patterns would have been different if there was that much rainfall and forest and thing. Wind patterns would have been different. They had storms and,
Well, I can see there we see a real 100 foot in the beginning. Look, you can see some real cut throughs here.
Oh,
And
I
if
get
I
you.
measure
I'm absolutely with you. That's a man-made phenomenon there. Somebody dug that out, or that is
that's
not natural going for that far with almost the equidistant, because so far everything you show me is right around that 90 to 100 foot mark, wherever you are in that canal structure there.
and I found some other little canals that I've been messing with. So there was some other stuff going on here. Here it seems to separate right there, and you can see like two little entry points. And one more thing, and you get to the very end of my lines, and what you see are trees in a line. See, that's why I believe there was once water,
Yeah, because
especially
look, you're
from
picking out where
the
the trees are
canal.
going. Because if they did sculpt down into the rock layers, that would be where
It's
everything
going to
would
keep
drain off into in our modern
right.
day. So you would just follow the vegetation line, is because that's where the water would be. Still to this day, draining into those lower areas first.
Before we leave the Richat, let me show you the two canals that I walked down. One of them could have been part of this whole drainage system. Because when you look at now, the blue line follows a path of if we were getting to the Atlantic Ocean as soon as possible, you'd come out here. Let me get rid of that. You come out here following this area, and there's only one small area there could have been a way to get through. That green line is the underlaying that's a very high cliff. It's just covered with sand. But that green line is, as far as I can tell, I mean, I'm a little sloppy here,
So yeah,
is
you would have been sandwiched through there. Okay, so if you were
sandwiched
sailing
through
in there,
here.
you would be following that purple line from west to east. And if that were full of water and the geographic features were a little bit, they were uncovered, maybe they were covered with vegetation, at that time, you would have come through that giant, like a Three Gorges Dam kind of thing right there. Oh,
Right.
and look at that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, this structure here is very interesting to me. And you can barely see it, but it goes down here. You can see a couple of cut throughs,
Oh, it
maybe
goes
here.
south. You're following the vegetation again. That's
We're
interesting
north
too.
south. That's not vegetation. That's just stone sticking up through there.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there are some things, and there is a little city here, or I wouldn't call it a city, but a settlement.
Settlement.
And that means there's a lot of water there. And there's people saying that this had to have been a waterfall. Well, they're assuming a lot. I mean, I don't think we're going to be finding a waterfall, but if you look at the topographic map of this area, and I use this one, I like topographic-map.com.
Yeah, that's a great one. By the way, if you're going to look
And
for topo stuff, yeah. And the problem is when
yeah,
you zoom in, the
it
colors
has to
change. So
read.
you can't get like,
Yeah.
that's the only thing I don't like about the map is when you zoom on it, all the colors
There's a
change under
locking
altitude.
feature here. Down here, look where I'm pointing, -13. There's a lock. Maybe you
Oh,
can lock it.
oh.
But I just want to show, where was I showing you now? I forgot. Oh yeah, this thing. So when you zoom in, there's the Richat structure. We're not looking at that. We're looking at this area. By the way, I can't rotate this. It's always north. You've
Mhm.
got one here. Look at that strange snake-like item. It's a structure. You can't
Go
see it
down to
yet.
now before you move the map. If you look to the left down there, you look to the west, it looks like you're on a beach, and those would have been a massive flood that would have left. They would have been going out to sea. Yeah, right there, because you're
He
following
asked
the water, and it
Jimmy,
leaves those same kind of sand striations.
the same ones Randall Carlson's talking about. I just
Yeah,
saw him.
exactly. And look down to the south
Jimmy,
and or to the end of the map. If you're going to go south and east, you
let
find
me
a whole
just
nother
put
set
the
of them. Just go straight
imagery in
down
there.
there.
So
Yeah, in
you've
the
got
green,
Getty
it
right
looks like at a
here.
lower altitude.
Jimmy
You
was
can't
very
see that there,
interested.
but you can on this topo map. Look at that. You definitely that's water had
He
rushed over there and left those sand deposits. I wonder what the
he
height of
asked
those
me to
sand
get
deposits
those.
is from the bottom to the top. 50 feet tall,
Well,
40
look
feet.
at the here. You can see if it's this color red, it's 2000. If it's yellow, it's 1481, 1500. So it's 500 foot tall, and
Wow.
they're a mile wide.
You know how much water would have to rush over that to create 500-foot tall sand dunes? But you'd have to have a
Colin,
massive flood for that. 500-foot tall.
yeah, 500
Wow.
foot, and those other ones are 1,000 feet. So this is like ripples from when water goes over sand. What happens when water and I wasn't really too focused, but like I was saying, Jimmy from Bright Insight, he hit me up. I didn't have a drone with me and I didn't go. You have to travel quite into it. And when you get there, I was right on the road right there. You're looking, you can't see any of that. It's showing topographically, but when you're standing in the middle of it, you don't. Now I'm on the plateau. That's in the sand. Maybe the plateau goes underneath it. Let's remember a couple of things. That plateau is 2,000 feet thick. Of course, it's going to be a magnet for strikes. Okay, look at this line here. That line, I believe that's artificially created. That's design. And up here, the highest point in the Richat, I want to talk about that. There's two canals. One's right there, and there's one up here, which I walked
Yeah, the
through.
one coming off to going down south and west, south southwest. That definitely looks straight as an arrow. Like, again, hard to find these types of straight as an arrow type of features that go for, some multi miles in nature. It's just kind of rare. I mean, could it
I think it must have.
happen? Perhaps, but just the rarity of straight lines going for 40 miles somewhere in nature just doesn't usually happen. That's why the
Yeah,
Yonaguni Island right off of Taiwan. I always wanted to go there, but we never went up there.
it was so close to Taipei. You're less
I
than 100
know I was
miles
on the
away.
flight and we should have gone up there, but I didn't. But
It's
those kind of
impossible to
straight
get there
lines
from.
there too, cut off in those temples underwater, the same
But let
thing. You
me show
just
you
don't get
something
those
real quick.
perfectly stonework vertical faces with 90-degree angles at them underwater. Water just doesn't sculpt when it erodes like that. It
Does
usually
that look like a
curves,
modern
a lot of
river?
sculpting and movement, follow the water. Look, use Schauberger vortex principles, especially when, something's coming down a stream. It's always moving to the next point where then it'll erode in that curved fashion. And then it does that back and forth movement. Our creek
Well,
was
I
eroding,
walked
so
down
it was
here.
studying Schauberger principles to allow the water to flow the freest and then create more of what is being eroded to push toward the hill versus out into the pasture. So using Schauberger principles to save my own pasture, I'm kind of seeing a lot of similarities here. And that looks really artificial to me, just a novice
Well,
looking at something that I know canals. I've seen a fair few canals, water from
it's cut
Thailand to.
through. Yeah, they're all over. And by the way, these canals, Taiwan, Geelong River was not.
I wanted to get a map layer set up for this. So when we click through and we can go through and like you can get detailed maps of different layering altitudes, vegetation, rock layering, mineral composition, and this sort of LiDAR all layered on top in a GIS set. I'll pay the fee to get that done. If you watch this
Look at
up to
that.
now and you're familiar with GIS, would love to get together to be able to help us build a map set so we can really get deep into this, especially with the LiDAR. I think that would strip away a few of the sand layers myself.